Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. My name is Vanessa, and today we're going to be talking about the BI or Business Intelligence Gateway. I have a few facilitators with me today. We've got Faisal and Kaushal, who are part of our business intelligence team in ITS, as well as a few other folks from the BI team that are probably going to be joining us and helping to answer questions for today's session. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind everyone that we are recording today's session. So I'll be sure to send you a link to the recording either by the end of today or early tomorrow. As you can also answer or ask any questions throughout the session in the chat, and we'll try to answer them as we get them, or will we take breaks during the presentation. But without further ado, Faisal and Kaushal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for facilitating this. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Faisal Qureshi. Welcome to the BI Gateway Tech Tuesday. I'll be joined today by my coworker, Kaushal Pandya. We'll be going through a few things with the BI Gateway, and I hope it's a productive afternoon. All right, to the agenda. So we'll go through some introductory features that, like we just did. We'll look at some recent updates to the actual BI Gateway. We'll look at creating dashboards within the BI Gateway, looking at a couple of examples, submission activity by submission date, summary account statement. Some of you might already be familiar with. So we'll look at some data tab and dynamic analysis and visualization. We'll be looking at that with the submission activity by submission date. And then finally, we'll be looking at combining all of those, combining disparate amounts of data from different models. And then we'll show you how to share all that to other users within the system. Like Vanessa mentioned, you can drop a question in the chat. We will try to answer them all at the end of the demonstration. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or hold them off till the end. We'll be happy to answer them. Okay. So for one of our recent updates, we actually did have a slight change to the system that you might not be aware of if you haven't logged in the last couple of days. So if I go into my BI Gateway, you'll see that I have the story here, but I just want to give you a view of what it looks like when you enter the BI Gateway again. So you'll be familiar with this home screen.
Faisal, we are not seeing your screen. We are seeing still the.
Oh, I see. That's no good. Thank you. How about now?
Yes,
Perfect.
Faisal.
Excellent. So this is the same old BI Gateway home screen as you'll be familiar with, but there's a slight change to the catalog over here. So if we go to catalog, you'll see that I have nothing assigned to me. Give me 1 second. Everyone wasn't already aware. That is the URL bi.weill.cornell.edu to get right into the BI Gateway. So log in, okay. And if once we go to the catalog, you notice it looks fairly familiar with the way that it did before. However, if you were to press the filter button now, everything opens up from the left side as opposed to the right. And the system now gives you an overall view of how many stories you have available within each of those particular areas. So for your fund management reports, your budget and planning reports, all that is available and easily accessible from here. And if you say can't find this particular kind of report, and he says you only have one of them, that will be based on your access. So it's much easier to get into the actual catalog itself, kind of organize all that stuff just as quickly as you would want to. So that's one of the main changes. Another one you'll notice once we get into the actual demos themselves is the platform itself is a little bit snappier. So going from screen to screen, we know it doesn't sound like the, the most glamorous update, but you'll notice some serious performance improvements over the next, hopefully, couple of weeks as you start using this new system. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next portion, wherein we'll take a look at creating some dashboards with the BI Gateway. Kaushal, you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Faisal. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Tech Tuesday. So most of you have already started using the BI Gateway, and you have already explored some of the nice features and functionality of the BI gateway. So in emerging world, we always wanted something extra and something new with the existing feature. So today we are presenting the data tab, which is nothing but like which is very helpful for the end user or SME or like power user if they want to analyze the data raw data, right? That will be very useful. So for today demo purpose, we are going to use one of the research administration report, which is nothing but the submission activity by the submitted date. So this data tab is available into all the stories. So basically, in order to access that data tab, first of all, you have to enter that prompt as per your need. So I'm going to leave as May 1st, 2020 to July 24, 2021. I'm going to hit set. As my coworker Faisal mentioned that in the recent upgrade, we have improvement into the performance. So now if you see the story returns the data, we are loading the data more than 1 year. So that returns the data very quickly. Okay, so now if you want to access the data tab, which is nothing but to analyze your data in depth, right? So first you have to save the story, and then only you will be able to access the data tab. So in order to save the story, you will you will click on the file and save, do the save as. When you do the save as, right, I would definitely encourage and recommend everyone to create your own folder instead of saving the report into the my files, because it will be easy for you to recognize the report which you have created for your own purpose. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just gonna say Tech Tuesday demo. I'm just making this up. And also, if you see that Tech Tuesday demo folder is created, so after this folder is created, you can also change the name of the report as per your expectation. So I'm just gonna give my CV just for the testing purpose. So as soon as I click OK, you see this report name is changed now to submission activity based on submitted date and my CV. So now as soon as I save the report, right, I see the edit option over here. Once I click on edit, you will see bunch of options, and that will help you to analyze your data very in good way. But today we are going to concentrate on the data tab. Right here, you see the data tab. Once you click on the data tab, you will see it will take you to the new page, and it will show you all the key figures and all the dimensions what you have for that particular story. So I have on the left hand side, I have all the measures, which is nothing but the dollar values, and all the dimensions, which is nothing but the columns I have for this particular story. So just for example, if any power user report or any SME wants to see their data, like just say my direct cost, right? Then they can click on that particular key figure, and then that key figure, the dollar amount will come up over here. Now, if they want to distribute this data based on any of this particular column, what they can do, they can easily click on, like, just I want to see this dollar value divided by the current status. So this whole report will be divided by the current status. But if somebody wants to further divide this data by, like, just say federal, non-federal, they wanted to see that, okay, in this funded, how much is the federally funded and how much is non-federally funded. So when they click on this one, it will definitely show them the distribution. But now let's say this is the auto-suggested chart, which was provided by BI Gateway. But now let's say you don't like this particular chart. The information in this one is like little bit confusing. So if you want, you can definitely change this particular graph as per your expectation. So I don't want to see this 2-bar graph. I just wanted to see one graph, and the data, the amount should be stacked on each other. So you can change it as per your expectation. I can click on chart. I can go to the comparison, and I can click on the stack chart. So by doing this, it will come up. And also you see the color palette, right? It is coming as dark blue and it is coming as a light blue. So it is sometimes it is difficult to differentiate what is exactly amount is divided into federal and non-federal. So even you can change the color palette by clicking on the designer over here on the top. Once you click on designer, right, you see this particular color palette which is coming in. You can use any of the color palette and it will be presented in a beautiful format. So let's say now if you don't like this yellow, this is too much bright, you can click on this particular switch first to the last, and that way it will give you the color different color presentation over here. Like that, you can do that. Okay, now let's say you created this particular graph and you like the graph, all the data is completely matching and everything is fine. Now you want to use this graph into your existing story, which is let's say I want to push this graph into my one of the tab. You can do easily by just clicking on this one. You can say copy this particular page to the analysis tab or like any information tab, or you can do that anything, right? Or you can put it into the new responsive page, which is nothing but like you can create your own dashboard, interactive dashboard, right? Let's say I'm just putting into the this particular new responsive page. So it says the new visualization successfully copied, and that particular dashboard will be copied over here automatically. And then you can create your own different charts or the table in this one, and you can create your own interactive dashboard. So the reason why I'm showing this report is because when we were migrating, we had received the requirement from the business saying that they wanted to create some kind of graph and interactive charts, right? So we have created for the end user the whole graph and into this particular tab. So basically in this particular format, in this particular report, what we are showing, it is divided. All the cards are divided by the submission count, by the current status, by the federal, non-federal, by the submission, by the current status, and the like how many number of submissions are there, which is federally funded, non-federally funded, based on the current status. One thing which I forgot to mention in the beginning, this all data is a test data. So whatever you're seeing, it's not the correct value or correct amount. So just don't think it's a correct value. Okay. So now let's say now if you want to see this, but if you want to change this data based on certain record number, you can definitely select certain record number by clicking on this input control. You can select any particular information, and this whole data will be distributed by just for that one particular record number. Okay, there is no information in this one, so you will see like this. Also, like if you have selected everything, and now if you want to see the information which you are seeing over here, like say this is 1 million, something like that, right? So if you want to use that 1 million, and if you want to see the data into rest of the tab, you can click on that one, and the rest of the tab, rest of the card will give you the result for that particular value, which is nothing but the pending determination. It will give you value for that pending determination. Now if you want, what we have done over here, so like if you see here, right, everything is presented into the graphical format, but some user wants to see the table format also, like they want to verify that data is correct or not. So what we have done, we have provided the table format, table information also over here, so that they can easily validate their data and they can compare if this value is correct or not. That way we have presented this dashboard. Also, if you notice, right, as soon as I clicked on this one, each and every card is showing, it is filtered. So if you see over here, right, it is showing I have filtered by this one. So when you click on this one, right, it will tell you the data has been filtered with the pending determination, current status. And if you want to come out of this one, you can easily click on the any of the graph or anywhere else, and it will come out automatically. Okay. So other thing which I wanted to show you is the summary account statement, in which we have also created some some graph which will be helpful for the demo purpose. So I have already saved that report into my folder so that it would be easy. So right here, Tech Tuesday demo, right here. No, not this one. Okay, I have saved it over here. Right, summary account statement. So in which what I have done, I have already pre-selected my fund and sponsor program. I'm going to click set. Over here, we have used the graph into the budget and spent. So basically this will show you the information into the how much is your budget and how much you have spent and what is the variance. That way we are presenting the data over here, and those information will be represented over here. The one good thing is whatever the graph, you will put it into this tab, right? Like just say if you want to see this 46 minus 46 million, right? If you click on that one, it will reflect those data in the below table, so that you will be able to understand where exactly this data is coming from, which fund and sponsor program category is this one. So it will be easy for all the users to analyze the data. So now let's say if you created this information and now this is a really nice graph, right? This one you want to share with your colleagues, or you want to share with your manager, or the high leadership. That will be shown by my colleague Faisal, how to share, and also Faisal will show how to combine two different data set into one report. So Faisal, do you want to take it over?
Sounds good. Thanks, Kaushal. Okay, let's just open up the screen. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at how to combine data from two different sources. And I just want to reemphasize everything we were taking a look at today is essentially designed for demo purposes. So some of these things might not behave the same in the systems and stuff because we designed these reports specifically so we could show everybody here how they were designed and how they were kind of put together. Again, I will reiterate about this one. This is all test data. So if you see any discrepancies with regards to amounts that don't seem to be necessarily true, this is all test data. Okay, so I'm going to look at the fund detail statement right now. The fund detail statement is essentially a story that we have that essentially gives you an overview at the detail level about how a particular fund amounts are being spent or committed, or anything that's budgeted towards it. So the fund detail statement doesn't necessarily have budget, but a number of our reports do as well. And from that level, you can extrapolate. Perhaps there's certain reports that aren't necessarily one-to-one with, say, the fund detail statement, or with regards to the sponsor program statement and stuff like that. Maybe you want to compare certain charges from different places to the particular story. So in this case, I'm going to look at the fund detail statement. So what I've done is I've taken the fund detail statement, I created a new tab and called it Fund and ITS. What this has done is it's combined the fund detail statement with the ITS billing details report. These are two stories that are slightly disparate. Fund detail statement will give you an overall view of the amounts that you have spent for a particular fund, while the ITS billing details will give you ITS specific charges that are associated with any information within the system. These are coming from two slightly disparate sources. So what I've designed this report to do is kind of give you an overview of both of them simultaneously. So you can compare and contrast to make sure the data that you're being charged in the ITS billing story lines up with the actual amounts from the actual fund detail statement. So the way that I ended up doing this, much like Kaushal showed before, is I went to save as, I saved the story, it cloned itself, and then it allowed me to open up this edit tab over here. Now, within the edit tab, you have a number of options up here. So to insert charts, insert input controls, which are little buttons at the top that allow you to filter things. As you'll notice up here, I have some filters turned on for this already. I have limited to a couple of funds. But once you actually want to combine two stories together, there's a couple of steps you should follow. First, what I did here was I created a new page by clicking the little plus button over here and added a new responsive page. A new responsive page is essentially mobile enabled. So it'll have all the features and functionality of the standard stories that you're looking at, say within the analysis tab. But it also gives you the ability to kind of create these little lanes that'll let you separate the data if you're specifically looking at it on mobile. Excuse me. Once you do that, you can hit the little insert table here. By default, the system will insert the query that is this automatic, or rather the model that's automatically associated with the overall story. In this case, it was fund detail statement. And all I did then was, because I had another lane available here, was reinsert another table. Once you reinsert another table, again, the system will automatically pull in the only model that's associated with it. I'll go to the designer, little wrench over here, make sure I click on this particular table. And as you'll notice, when I go to the fund table, the data source itself changes. Now, if I have two fund detail statements here, that doesn't seem much use to me. So I'll click this little pencil here to change the model. In this case, we've already changed it, but I'm just going through the example. By default, you'll see fund detail statement. But if you go to select other model, you'll get a drop down of all the models that are available to you on your personal folder or assigned to you via security. So from here, you can select whatever story or rather model that you want to add into there. I've already selected ITS billing, so I'm not going to go into that any further. But once you have the stories in the actual view itself, there's a couple of things you should do to kind of make your life a little bit easier when you are running this story in the future. So the first thing I like to do is I go to this link dimensions button up here. The link dimensions essentially allows you to combine like fields between the two of them. Unfortunately, because these are coming from two different sources, it'll just link them together so that the filters and the comparisons can be done. You cannot merge them currently. We are working with the vendor to get a timeline, and we'll be able to kind of merge all that information to a singular thing. But for the time being, everything is kind of just merged in the system and it's associated with each other. In this case, I selected fund, which ties pretty easily to the fund sponsor program within the ITS billing. And the commitment items themselves, because this is where you look at the line item information as to specific charges, posting dates, and all of that stuff. So I'll hit OK there. And once all that stuff is brought into the actual story itself, you'll notice that if you are familiar with the ITS billing story, there's a lot of columns that are inserted by default into the story. What I've done is I've taken out all the columns that I didn't need. In this case, I took out everything that wasn't essentially related to a commitment item and the particular charge that's associated with them. I will remove the charge type. And I have the overall amounts just showing right there. However, if I look over here, I've got quite a bit more information than I necessarily need. This is where that link dimension bit comes in handy, wherein we can take a look at a specific commitment item. I've added the filter up here. All of them currently selected, but if I want to select one specific one to look up the charges between the two, I can either just scroll down, manually search for it. In this case, I want this particular commitment item. When you deselect all, the reports will refresh to show as blank, but I'm going to select that one. And everything updates to the current output. So if I close this and I look at the overall amounts that I'm looking at over here, you'll notice that the aggregate charges are not shown. The aggregate charges over here are shown because I have the posting date associated with it. And I've also inserted the posting date here as well. So I can compare and contrast between, excuse me, what charges were filed for each one and what dates they were filed on as well. In this case, I have 7/31 and 8/31 tying back to this particular date for 7/31 and 8/31 as well. So this can be really helpful for a number of purposes as far as looking at disparate amounts of data between two different stories. This can be used for fund detail and fund information as well as sponsor program information. You can also combine, if you have access to them, any payroll information that we have within the system available, and give you an overall breakdown of how all of that stuff links together and whether or not the charges that are being charged to a particular fund are tying back to the amounts that we have in a say, the payroll system. Or in this case, we have our ITS billing system that is processed through a different system altogether. So in the future, you'd be able to easily just combine all of this data, show both of these stories in the same view, and essentially create a reconciliation if you are using something like the grid page. Within the grid page, you can do all of that stuff. We won't go too far into the grid page because most folks are already familiar with it. But this essentially allows you to put in Excel comparison into here. So I can drop a single chart into here, and then I can drop a secondary chart, and then we can do some comparisons between the two of them here as well. Grid is a little bit more finicky, but it is good for essentially scratch paper for a web-based tool. Okay, excuse me. Now that I've saved this, or rather I've modified this and saved it, I can just hit save here. You'll get the little icon at the bottom saying that it has saved, story saved. And now let's say I want to share with my coworker. I go to share. You see these little 3 dots over here. Not a double helix, but close. And then I start typing in, say I want to share it with my friend Kaushal over here. I can start typing his name. As long as a user is available within the system, I can select their name right over here. You'll also notice that there's an access button over here. So this will give you the option of choosing between 3 different security options when you actually do share it with the user. We are recommending that everybody, when they share access, leave it to view only. This way, whoever receives the report will be able to share their own, save their own version. And that'll essentially allow them to play with it themselves as well. But you also have the option to send it with edit access. So if you send it with edit access, the thing that happens is you will have the edit mode enabled by default, and you will be able to modify anything within the story. So if you put in your own filters, if you add or remove any columns, you add a graph or chart or any more tables anywhere, you'll be able to modify it and then save it. And the person who sent it to you will be able to view that as well. So this is really great for collaborative work. So if you want to, say you have a template for a particular story, you send it to your coworker, and they say, hey, this is great, but I want to add X, Y, and Z. And you say, okay, that's great. And you can, as long as they have edit access, you will see all the changes as they are making it. Full control, on the other hand, is all of the above, as well as the ability to delete the story, which we are not recommending anybody send a story that way. Additionally, if you want, as long as the user is within the systems themselves, you can alert them via email. Otherwise, if I deselect that and I hit share, okay, sharing settings for selected have been updated. You'll notice that he has been added over here with edit access. Do edit? Yeah. And now if I stop sharing, Kaushal, do you want to see if you got it available? Mm-hmm.
So if anybody is sharing the story with you, right, when you log in, you will see those shared information. It is in this particular tab, which is nothing but the shared with me. So when you click on this one, right, you will see a bunch of stories over here, because many we have shared many stories to each other, but you can search with the name. Faisal, what is the name?
Fund and ITS.
So right here, you see, and as soon as I click on open, right, so whatever the Faisal selected on the prompt screen, right, that will automatically be populated over here. I don't need to change anything. But if you want to select for your own fund, right, you can definitely do that. The one thing which I want to mention it over here, just for example, Faisal is having access to, I'm just making this up, okay? So Faisal is having access to all the fund, but let's say I don't have access to one 525 fund. So when I execute this report, right, I won't see 525 fund into the story. So that is the security check is already happening on the when you execute the story. So you don't need to worry for like to expose the data to the other person. So if you do this one, you will see the fund and ITS, which is nothing but the combined one. which was created by Faisal. Faisal, you want to take it over?
Certainly. And that's how you essentially share a story within the BI Gateway. This has all been recorded, and we will probably share the PDF, the PowerPoint here as well. This gives you a bit of a step-by-step on how to access this stuff. But for now, that has been our overview of the BI Gateway and some more of its advanced analytics features. We'll open it up for questions now. I know we have quite a few folks in the chat.
Yeah, Joey and Kaushal have been answering some of them, but I think it would be really helpful for possibly everybody else who's attending to hear some of the answers. I believe Kaushal, when you were showing the graphs, Daniela asked if you can download and print them.
Yes, you can download them. We need to see if we, in print how will it come. We need to check that.
Okay.
Right. So the way that you would, so you would go about doing that is you would insert a graph into here, and that's the only thing that you want to display on a particular page. You can go to the file, or rather save as, export, and select as PDF. So this is only designed for, or PowerPoint. This is specifically designed for showing the actual print perfect view on the screen. And then once you select either of these options, it'll export that to that particular option, and then you can print it from there. The actual platform doesn't support printing directly, primarily because if somebody accidentally hits print and they have 10,000 rows of data, it wouldn't be the best for viewing that information. But yeah, you can easily just export that and then print it as a PDF.
I think this question came in when you were presenting, Faisal. Laura asked, would you use the fund detail statement and the ITS billing detail to look for the status of a specific bill / charge charged to a specific fund? For example, the date paid, the check number, etc.
Absolutely. That's exactly what the purpose of combining the two of these stories would be used for, to see whether or not you've been charged for a particular fund, if you've been overcharged, if you've been undercharged, to see how many items you have specifically there. If I had all the information from my ITS billing, you can tell if a particular tagged item has been charged or not, and whether or not you've been getting duplicate charges for, say, particular lines that you don't, particular phone lines that you don't necessarily have access to anymore. So that would be the precise use case for it, and that's exactly what it'd be used for.
Thanks. We also got a question about from David. Does ITS offer one-on-one consultations for BI Gateway users?
We do to some degree. So if you email us at bi-solutions@med.cornell.edu, this will be your kind of one-stop communication for anybody on our team to answer any of your questions. We can set up some guided coaching labs or any sort of individualized trainings and stuff. Or if you just have any questions about the platform, you can just shoot us an email over here and we'll get back to you as soon as we're able to.
Awesome. We just got a question from Samara. She logged in a little late, so she may have missed it. She wanted to know how to get to these reports, the link to these reports. She mentioned the WBG URL, but it was bi.while, correct? Just to reiterate.
So it is bi.while.cornell.edu. I will actually just share my screen real quick. So it's bi.while.cornell.edu. You'll notice up here, if I hit enter, yes, my browser is set up a different way. But it logged me in right away. However, if you were to log in for the first time, let me just log out and show you that to sign out. As soon as you go to the bi.while.cornell.edu, you'll be presented with a login page. You'll actually be I've pre-selected, I'm a part of New York ITS, or rather New York WCM, and then you'll be presented with the login screen. As long as you have Duo two-factor authentication turned on for your ID and or you're logged into the VPN already, it'll kind of pass through that screen and you'll just be able to log in from there.
Awesome. We got a question just now from Girly Montoya. We have currently an Employee Central project. How will this be linked to the data from Employee Central success factors?
Okay, so a lot of the data that we currently have within the BI Gateway is coming, this is going to get a little technical and very specific to the SAP world, but it is all currently linked to SAP data within our data warehouse. Employee Central and Employee Central Payroll, as well as Employee Central within SuccessFactors itself, is a similar system to our HR systems that currently exist. But because they are a cloud product, they have native integration with the BI Gateway. So once all of that stuff gets rolled out, we finalize all the data connections and all of that stuff and how the data is going to be structured. All the stories will be coming either within Employee Central directly, or we will create them within here at the BI Gateway itself. So the way that it's going to be linked is this is going to be the primary front end, the BI Gateway specifically, excuse me, to any reporting or any sort of data analytics that would come out of Employee Central. I hope that answers the question, Girly. Also, hi, Girly. It's been a while.
Awesome. We had another question come in from Laura. She said, also, I think it's been said to only use certain browsers when logging on. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the only browser we don't recommend using is Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer currently. For anybody who's used internet for the last 20 years, that should apply. But IE, unfortunately, no longer supports some, excuse me, some of the web UI stuff. So you run into issues when actually trying to run some of the stories within Internet Explorer. But Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, Safari, all of those will work as expected within with the BI Gateway itself.
We got another question from Julie. If someone shares with me, am I prompted somehow to the share push?
So the way that you would get that notification is if you select that email recipient option, and then they'll just get an email in their enterprise email inbox. So, you know, their CWID at med.cornell.edu, they'll say that they have a new document available and they can click on a link within the document, within the email itself to go to the document, or like we mentioned earlier, if you just go to the shared with me, it'll automatically be added here.
Great. I think we got through all the questions. Are there any more that any of our attendees might have that I can share with Kaushal and Faisal before we?
So, Vanessa, one thing which I want to correct.
Oh, sure.
So when when Faisal shared that story with me, right, and when I said that if I don't have access to certain, like just for example, 525 fund, right, then that will be removed and will show me the rest of the data. So actually it won't. So basically, if I don't have the 525 fund access, and if I run the story, it will give me the blank screen. So in the prompt screen, you have to enter the fund which you have access to, and then only data will show as per your expectation.
Correct. And the method that we are actually encouraging everyone, if you want to share a story with all of the funds that you have access to, with, let's say, for example, you're a department administrator, and you've created a story that is really functional for you, allows you to kind of access all the data that you need to, for example, the fund detail and ITS billing statement, and you want to share it with another colleague in, say, the origin department is pediatrics, and you want to share it with someone in urology. So when you actually run the story, what we recommend, if you want to run it again with all of your funds, we have the single value that's called starting value, or and then we have a ending value that's, if you just type in 11 nines, one extra one, it'll say ending value. And then when you run the story, it'll pull in all the funds that you have access to. I'm not going to run it right now because there's a lot of data. But when you do run this story, if you've been to any of our coaching labs in the past, there is one extra step that you will have to run. You will have to activate this filter. So if you just go story prompt filter, you'll see that from your view screen as well. And then you go to the data source itself, you'll select dimensions, And because I have the fund filter already on, it's not going to let me select it. But when you select fund by default, excuse me, by default, it'll open up this screen over here. You're going to want to select all members and then deselect the number 1. So it'll say WCMC/1 on there. Once you deselect that 1, all of the values that you have access to will be available within the story itself. So even if you are sharing something that somebody doesn't have access to, they won't be able to see that information. But if you wanted to view your own information, this is the way to do that as well. I hope that helps.
We just got a question from Mohammed in the chat, who's currently using ID CGeneral 001, and he's unable to view any stories.
Yes, so for this ID is a test ID. Right now, we are still working with security team to set this up. So it is not valid at this point. So I'm not sure why, Muhammad, you're using the ID. We can take this offline, but definitely right now we are still in progress to set it up.
Thanks, Joey, for answering that one. I don't see any more questions. Is there anything, BI team that's on the call that you want to share before we wrap up?
Nothing off the top of my head, but I hope this was helpful. And thank you again, Vanessa, for setting all this up.
Oh, not a problem at all. So I guess we'll wrap up the session. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll try to get the recording up as soon as possible. I have to do a little bit of editing, but I'll email everyone that link as soon as it's ready, along with some of the other links and email contact that our facilitators have provided today. But other than that, have a great one. And thanks again to the BI team for joining us today.
Anytime.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks all. Have a good day.
Thank you.